Hi, I'm Richard Blake. Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago and chief of staff under President Obama, is remembered for his statement, "Never let a crisis go to waste." Now, of course, he was referring to taking advantage of a crisis to further political aims. And without commenting on his use of the phrase, we could echo those words in relation to the current COVID-19 pandemic. Surely the nations of the world have been thrust suddenly into this time of crisis. Of the 197 nations in the world, only 4 have reported no cases. And while necessary attention is being focused on finding a cure, we should ask the question, how can we not waste this? Or what lessons may be learned that will help us not only in this crisis, but in any future times of trouble? Now, surely many important things may be noted, but I want to mention briefly these 3. First of all, we must remember to put our trust in the right place. Recently, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo spoke during a press briefing about the slowing of the coronavirus infection in his state. And he said, the number is down because we brought that number down. God did not do that. Faith did not do that. A lot of pain and suffering did that. In effect, Governor Cuomo was saying that human effort and human knowledge could alone be credited with the improvement. God, or faith in God, was not a factor. And the implication is that in this or any other future crisis, faith may be a part of any private devotion, but we should place our faith in man, in human institutions, government, and hospitals. Such hubris would be astonishing if it were not so prevalent in society. God alone is worthy of our ultimate trust. No human institution can qualify. Psalm 20 verse 7 says, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God." And Psalm 118:8 says, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man." And throughout Scripture, God is revealed as our rock, our fortress, our deliverer, our refuge, and our strength. And repeatedly, God calls us to trust Him. He's been faithful to us in every trial. He will never leave us or forsake us. And so in this and any other crisis, keep on trusting in Him. And then second, we must remember to put our treasures in the right account. This pandemic has resulted in the dismantling of our economies. Stocks have plummeted and retirement funds have been threatened. Small businesses have closed and many of them may never reopen. And suddenly all of our boasting about our economy has been silenced. And our confidence in our financial situation has been severely shaken. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with working for gain and saving and investing in the future. The Bible commends such things. But there's also a warning against making them our consuming interest. Jesus said, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures upon earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." These words, Jesus was giving investment counsel we should heed. All earthly investments are at risk. And even if they're never lost due to financial crises or thieves or mismanagement, all earthly treasures will one day be lost in death. And in that sad day, the person who has spent his life accumulating only earthly treasures will have nothing to show for what should have been a lifetime of profitable investment. And therefore, remember to put some things in a heavenly account that will always pay dividends and never be at risk. And then finally, we must remember to spend our time in the right ways. You know, in the busyness of life, we forget the value of each moment. We should remember the steady shortening of the time of our life. Scripture puts it this way: you're just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. The tragedy of the numbers dying in this pandemic underscores this warning. Because of the brevity of our time, we should make the most of every moment. The psalmist said to God, "So teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Now, that doesn't call for us to calculate our days with arithmetic, but rather to realize the brevity of life so that we may use each moment wisely. We're to consider our days as if the present one is our last. And in this light, we're to be productive. We're to seize the opportunities that God gives us each day. How are you spending your time? These days, when our schedules are in upheaval, we can reflect upon the preciousness of this commodity of time and learn to spend it wisely, seizing the opportunities God gives us each day. Yes, these are days of crisis, and yet we can learn valuable lessons in times like these, lessons that may remain far beyond this present crisis. And if you give some thought to it, you can probably think of others. Open your heart to God and ask Him to teach you. Don't waste this.